Whoa, hey there, it's Rich with Rich Bound Photography, Sacramento, California. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to have my friend Brendan Day, who's on camera, to shoot me, not really shoot me, but shoot me with a camera, showing you the ins and outs of how I drive in and I get ready for my real estate shoot. So let's just go and I'll show you my gear. Okay, first of all, I want to say that we're not going to be parking in the driveway. Sometimes I do leave my gear off in the driveway, but we'll always want to make sure that we're not parked so we will see our car from the windows. So you always want to make sure of that. So something to think about so you don't have to come out in the middle of the shoot and move your car. Nothing worse than that. Okay, I've got my new Subaru Outback, and I just want to show you what I'm using and how easy it is to get together and make it quick and easy, because it is really important to save time to have your gear all ready for you and not have to take multiple trips. So I'm just going to show you that. I've got my Pelican case, my 1510 case, which works really well for me, and I always lock it up in the car just so in case I get in an accident and that doesn't go flying and all my camera gear go flying. So I'm going to open up my camera case and I'm going to start by bringing out my tripod, and I'm going to set up my tripod to a length, a height that I like, and I've got, if you notice, I've got little marks on my tripod so I know exactly where to put the height. And I want to say that this is the Manfrotto 3046, which is something I've been using. I've been using these since 1985, and you can get them on eBay, and they're really great tripods, really inexpensive. I usually get them for under 100 with shipping. Okay, so a couple of things here. I want to show you that I've got, not only do I have my tripod with a geared D4 Arca Swiss D4 head, but I've got a little pouch here so I can first just quickly take out my speed light. I always carry a speed light. This is a Flashpoint lithium ion zoom, and I put it inside the pouch, which is a great thing because I just whip it out and I've always got a speed light there. This pouch is for something else, which I use a little Wi-Fi extender because I am tethered, but I won't go into that today. So I have these two on my case, and next thing I want to do is pull out my camera. And actually today I've got a tilt shift on here, but I want to keep this really simple because this is something that is more akin to everybody using just a zoom lens. So I'm going to take this Canon 17mm tilt shift off, and I'm just going to put on my Sony 16-35. Now this is the 2.8 version, but you can use certainly an f4. No, you don't need really good fast lenses. You need a good quality, image quality, but you'll be fine with an f4 lens because in real estate photography, we don't really need real fast aperture. So this is a 2.8, it's a great lens, a 16-35 Sony, and the camera I'm using is the Sony a7 III, and I really like this with a Sunway Photo L bracket. So I've shown you that in other videos, and if you haven't checked that out, I recommend you check out the last video or you'll find it. Okay, so I'm going to put it onto my tripod right here really quickly. So I'm going to make sure that this just gets locked down, and I want to make sure that I have my battery in the camera. I want to make sure that I put my trigger on the camera, which is the Flashpoint R2 Pro, and these are the triggers of choice for me, and I just want to let you know how many times I've gone in the house and forgot to put it on. So go through your little mental checklist and also make sure that it's really seated well into the hot shoe. Okay, so I'm going to tighten that down. It's in really well. So I've got my trigger, my camera, my L bracket on my tripod. So next is going to be, I'm going to start pulling out some lights. So I'm only going to use 2 lights on this house, which I don't usually, even for a small house like this is about 2,000 square feet. I normally only use 2 lights, which will be the speed light. Then I pull out my Manfrotto 105-1 or 1051 BAC stand. I really like them because they just open up super easy. They open up super easy, and they're really, really convenient. One little trick that I do also is I always extend the bottom section of the tripod so I never have to bend down this far again. So it's all about making it quick and easy and fast and something you can do all day, every day. So I've got this on, the tripod on for my Evolve 200. It's also, that's the Flashpoint Evolve, and they also make the Godox AD200. So it is something that Godox, Flashpoint, and Neewer and Cheetah are all the same. So they're just rebranded. So I'm going to put this on here, and all this equipment will be in the show notes. And also all my gear you can find at the website kit.com, K-I-T, and it's where I put all the stuff that I use. So it's kit.com/Rich Baum Photography. So put this on here on my quick release. Really nice. So now it's nice and solid and stable. Got that. And the next one I'm going to do is my second light is going to, and I just take off the diffuser cover that I protect my lens with, and this is the Streaklight 360. So I'm just going to bring both of these in now, and I just take my second, the same stand. Love it again because it's so fast and easy to open up and to put up. And I've got the quick release. I'm just going to really quickly put this on here, bam, and it is just fast and secure with these Manfrotto quick releases, which again will be in the show notes. Plug in my external battery, and I love this light because it's a flexible, opposable head, just works for me. Okay, so I have that, and one other thing I want to make sure you take with you, and this is just something that I've learned, always take an extra battery and stick it in your pocket, because we don't want to have to walk outside when we've got to replace our battery. Remember, you got to put some memory card in the camera, and so we're all good, set to go. Last thing I'm going to do is get out my iPad, because I'm always tethered. I'm going to put that on, and as always, people ask, this is a life-proof iPad Mini 2, version 2 case. And it is just the greatest thing because you got to have a strap. But I'm just going to put that on. I can use it without my hands or just put it by my side. And I will say that the Sony a7 III doesn't work as well as I'd like the Wi-Fi as like my a6000 built-in Wi-Fi. And that's why I'm using this Wi-Fi extender. But I'm not going to need it today because I'm just doing a demonstration. So let me close my car up. And again, I would be parked on the street, so I recommend you don't park in the way of any of the windows. And I also have both my lights in my hand and my tripod in my hand. And I'm just going to take one trip in the one trip in the house, and that's all I'm going to do. So aside from leaving my car in the driveway, this is how I would set up for every single real estate shoot. Okay, I'll see you inside. Hey, okay, so we're getting inside the house and we're getting ready to set up our equipment, and we're going to look around and see where we want to shoot and get an idea of the compositions and the shots that we want to give the information to show what we want to sell here. But I want to tell everybody that I usually start shooting right at the door because I like to get the most efficient motion I can to film what I need quickly and efficiently. So I'll start at one corner and just go through the house. A lot of times when you're learning, you're into, maybe I remember when I started, I'd shoot the upstairs to get ready for the downstairs and the harder stuff. But I don't really worry about that now. So I'm just gonna set up a nice, easy setup for this room. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's something we probably all shoot at some time or another. It's about a 2,000 square foot house, and it's something very normal that I shoot something just like this in this area. So let me set up the gear and show you how it's done. Okay, so we really want to see, the main thing I want to impress upon to everybody is what are we selling? So we want to get certain shots, and usually if I start off in the living room, which this is, and it's got an attached kitchen and a little dining area, it's something that we shoot almost all houses. So it's really simple, and I usually do 2 to 4 angles. In case I get a really nice house, I'm going to do 4 angles. I might even do one more than that. It really depends on what I'm photographing, what the value is of the space. But a house like this, I'm really going to just shoot 2 or 3 angles. And the first angle I'm going to do is I'm going to point at the fireplace, because the fireplace to me and the view, I'm looking at a green belt out the window, and although it's cloudy today, when I shot this house the first time, it was beautiful out there and I really wanted to accentuate the views. I did window pulls on all my shots, so it really looked nice. But today, I'm just going to focus on just getting a good solid composition. And one thing I want to say is something to really think about, and a lot of people have this problem of having things right in the camera, close to the camera, like this little lamp right here. So I want to make sure everybody takes the time, if you can, just either move your composition or just remove the lamp and just put it over here. Don't forget about it, because I've done that many times where then you turn around and you're shooting and you forget that the lamp is over here. So, and as I move that there, I'm going to eventually just move something from this shot, and I would put it right here in its place. But it wouldn't be high for when I turn around going this way if I don't choose to put the lamp back. But right now, I've got that out of the way, and I'm going to set up my composition. Now, one thing I want to say to people is, everybody asks me, or a lot of people asks me, how high is my camera? What's the proper composition? Well, there is no rule. It can be any height that you want that you think looks good. But for me, I tell people I level my camera just about my belly button. And it's actually about right there. And that's hard to say. I'm 5'10", and it's about that high. So that's where I start off, and I usually shoot that way. If I'm doing a tilt shift, I might shoot a little higher up here and shift my lens down. But for me, this is good. And I'm going to now show you the lighting setup. Okay, so I've got the camera here, and I've got, Brendan, why don't you come around and show us the other angle here. And I'm going to put a flash right over here, raise it up, and what I tell people to do, I try and teach 18 inches from the ceiling. So that is right about there, and what that gives you is 18 inches from the ceiling is, if your flash is down here, if this thing would drop, okay, if your flash is down by camera here, the light has to travel all the way from here up and bounce off, because we do direct bounce off a ceiling, bounce off and come out. So if you were to raise your camera up to about 18 inches below the ceiling, then you're going to get more effective power. I also want to talk to you about the camera settings. I am always at f7.1, or that's on my crop sensor camera, my Sony a6000 7.1, or on the full frame Sony a7 III, I am usually at f8. So that is keeping everything pretty much from 3 feet to infinity in focus. So it works well for me, and usually I don't have a problem there. The other thing is the ISO. I want to tell people I run ISO 320 to ISO 400, and that will give my flashes effectively more power, and you're never going to notice the noise from ISO 400 on most of today's DSLRs or mirrorless cameras. So it will really help your flashes have more power. So I'm going to put a flash over here, and I'm going to take my 200 and I'm going to extend that here 18 inches from the ceiling again. And these flashes, these stands are great for what they are, because they are really about the right height for a regular 8-foot ceiling. I think they go about 6.5 feet tall. But I just love how they work because they're easy to open up. If I want to do light on a stick, I just loosen it up and then close it up, and I can do light on a stick and then open it up again. Really easy. Okay, so I'm going to put this light over here, and I've got one light over there, one light over here, and if I need to, I can throw another light in here. Now, if I was only going to do 2 shots, let's eliminate this 360. I think I could totally do this room, no problem with a speed light. But if I'm doing a 360, I'm going to come over here just a little bit, and I'm going to bring it over towards this window. So I'm going to give it a little bit of directionality, the lighting coming into the natural direction for shadows. Okay, so I now have my, my trigger on my camera. I'm going to keep it off for this first shot, which is going to be the ambient. And then I'm going to shoot the flash shot. So I've got my camera on manual. I always shoot interiors on manual. And I want to make sure that I have got the ISO to 400 or 320 or 400. Oh, it went off by itself. Never mind. I've got it on timer because I was doing time lapse last night. So I'm going to set up, and I'm going to do this room. I'm going to start off, and I'm going to go down to 16 millimeters. Can't talk right now, shooting a video. Sorry about that. Always put your phones on vibrate. Okay, so I'm going to set my camera up to, for my ambient shot, I'm going to set it to right here. I'm going to do F8. I'm going to do ISO 400. Let's go 400. And then I'm going to shoot at about 1/5 of a second for my ambient. And I'm going to do a few brackets. So the next thing I want to do, I've set up my composition for what I want. I'm then going to level out my camera, tighten down my pan, and now I'm going to set up. And I'm not going to use my iPad for tethering because a lot of you don't do that. So what I am going to do is set up my timer for 2 seconds, and I'm going to put my focus. Everybody asks me, where do I put my focus? Well, at the settings of F8, and you're with this lens 16 to 35 at 16 millimeters, I can pretty much get focus throughout the scene. So I'm just going to be slightly shy of infinity. But for me right now, I'm just going to zoom in, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on something in the middle of the room. I might focus on right here or right here. I could also focus on right here. If there wasn't anything really pertinent in the foreground right by camera, that's the only thing that's going to be out of focus. So I want to just shoot and focus on somewhere in the middle of the room. And I'm a big believer in, I'm not crazy, I don't normally shoot with a zoom lens, autofocus lens like the 16 to 35. I normally do tilt shift lenses, which are all manual focus, but this will work fine. So I'm just going to do my ambient shot again at F8, 1/5 of a second, and that's going to vary between the amount of light coming in from the outside. So you can never say, the only thing we're going to ever really change is our shutter speed. And we have an overcast day outside, so it's kind of nice. Overcast sky days work really well because there's just not a lot of depth, not a lot of dynamic range, so they're really easy. So I'm going to shoot this one, and I'm setting my focus. I'm actually going to zoom in on my Sony a7 III, which is really easy to do. I just program a button on my camera, and then I'm just going to set the focus. Okay, and I'm going to okay, and I look at the results, and the 3 things I want to really think about for my ambient exposure are luminosity or overall exposure, and I want to get good overall exposure. And then the next thing I'm going to think about is shadows. I want to bring in logical shadows. So I may take a bracket of a an ambient exposure for the luminosity, but then I'm going to take a darker ambient exposure for the shadows in case I want to bring them back, because this is all going to be adding into a flash shot, and I'll get to that in a second. And then the last thing we're going to be thinking about is, are we going to have any issues to fix with the ambient shot? But we won't know that till we take the flash shot, but those issues would be ceiling fan shadows and things like that. So that's our ambient shot. Okay, I'm going to do one more at one stop under. So I'm going to do 1/8 of a second. I'm going to take that picture. And there you go. Okay, there I go. Now, next thing I want to do is I want to turn on my trigger. Now, a lot of people say to me, oh, but you're touching your camera. And you know what? I've got a really stable head, the Arca Swiss D4, really stable tripod. Those are good things to me. But you want to always, two things. You want to just make sure that you do it very lightly, because you don't want to induce any more motion into the camera than you normally would have, because we're going to be layering things up later. Another thing is, a lot of times you don't think about it, but you'll come up to the camera. If you step right here by the camera, a floor, a carpet, a wooden floor might actually move a little bit. So if you're going to be standing here, shoot the whole thing standing here. Don't move away, because when you move away, the whole floor might lift up and might misalign your camera. So I'm going to now do the flash shot, and I'm just going to use my trigger where I can control and adjust the power of all my triggers, all my flashes remotely. So I really recommend getting some of these new flashes, the Flashpoint flashes, and they're all really easy. They're really well built for the money. They're cheap. They're really great, and I really suggest getting these new flashes. So I'm just going to only use my AD 200 or my Evolve 200, and I've got that on Group C. So I'm going to take Group C, and I'm just going to set it to, today I think I'm going to do it to half power, and I'm just going to put it here, so mainly because so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to put it right here, and I've got it 18 inches from the ceiling, straight up. And there you go. And I'm just going to now set my shutter speed to expose for the brightest thing in the scene or the room. Now that's something that's really important. That's a tip I learned from Scott Hargis. And what we want to do is always expose our flash image for the brightest thing in a room. And in this room would probably be the windows or the ceiling fan light up there. But I'm just going to expose for the windows. So I'm just now going to change my shutter speed. I'm going to lower it down till I see a good view in the window. And that's about 1/40th of a second. Now, I tell people to always shoot a minimum of 1/20th of a second. That's because in your flash shot, you want to kill the ambient or kill some of the ambient so the flash can get you the true colors you want and overpower the room lights and the ambient light and things like that. So I'm going to a 1/40th of a second right now. My flash is set to a half power, and I'm just going to go try this one. Okay, let me look at that. Wow, that looks really good. Okay, simple. Now, really, it really is simple, and when you get these steps, go over them and over them, and after you've shot your 200 or 300th house, you're going to have no problem. So I'm just going to take that flash shot and that ambient shot, and I'll let you see it coming up on the screen right about now. Okay, so for this reverse shot, which we're at least going to get 2 shots, maybe 3 of this area anyway, no matter what house it is, for me at least, I'm just going to be using 2 lights in this, and I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to show you 2 light setup. So I'm going to have my same thing, my same settings, f7.1 or f8, depending on your taste. I'm going to be doing ISO 400, and I'm going to have my 16 to 35 f2.8, and I've set that to, again, f8. So I'm just going to set this up, and I'm going to now put a light right here, which is my Evolve 200, and that should light this area right in here. And I'm going to take my Streak Light 360 and put it over here. So what this is going to do, and this is going to light up this whole kitchen area from over here. I'm just going to put it off camera right about here. And it's about 18 inches from the ceiling, and that'll be perfect. So before we go and we shoot the shot, I want you to make sure that you look at your subject, your model, and this is the house. Little things like, I want you to make sure that the pillows are right and that this cable from the lamp is out of the way. And remember, I had to put the lamp back, so don't forget, if you move a lamp, put it back. So I'm just going to put this behind the camera. It will not see that. And I want to make sure that my seam in my lampshade is not showing. That's just little important things, and I learned those things from the movie industry. But it's good for this too. So this is looking good, and we could even level our lampshade, but always touch lampshades with a grain of salt. You just want to make sure that you don't break something, okay? So if you don't want to move furniture, don't want to move anything, that's okay too. And I'm going to move this chair just back just a little bit. Right here, that's what I saw earlier. And I want to straighten out and make sure that this lamp is right about there. Okay, everything looks good. And I'm going to turn off my trigger, make sure that the lights don't go off. And I'm going to set up the ambient shot. And again, I'm at f8, ISO 400, and I'm going to set it to 1/8 of a second. I'm going to now level my camera. Make sure it is level, lock down my pan, tilt knob, and then I'm going to have my 2-second timer, and I'm going to set my focus on the coffee table right here, and I'm going to go take the first shot. There we go. Okay, how's that looking? That looks great. I'm going to do one brighter exposure, so I'm going to slow my shutter speed down 1 stop to f1/4 of a second. Shoot that again. Okay, and now I want to do my flash shot. So I'm going to expose for the brightest thing in the room. And this shot, I think I can get away because it's overcast. I'm going to get away with 1/25 of a second. Actually, I'm going to go to 1/40 of a second, which will give me nice, crisp flash shot. And I want to turn on my trigger, and I want to set my streak light 360 over there to 1/4 and 1/3. And I'm going to set my Evolve 200 to half second. Half speed, half power. Here you go. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me see the replay of the image. That looks really good. Okay. Well, I'm set there, and what I'm going to do is I could put another light in that room over there, but I'm just going to let the ambient do the heavy lifting. So I'm going to just go backwards and make sure that the ambient shot I've got is going to be good for the areas that I need. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's go on to the next shot. Okay, so let me just put this camera over here so you can see what I'm dealing with. I'm going to be doing a shot of the room from where you're looking right now. The camera is looking at this area. And what we want to feature is this really cool fireplace in the middle of the bedroom and a side room over here with some really cool furniture. This house was staged, so there's minimal stuff here, but I think it looks fine. I think it looks great. So we've also got a view out the window here, and we're going to have to try and incorporate all three. So I want to make sure that we have enough lighting, so I'm going to use 2 lights in this setup. One is going to be a speed light right by camera, which I'm going to put the camera in that corner. I'll show you right now. Put this over here. Let's go in here and get as wide as we can because we've got a lot to show here. Now remember, if this light is in the camera, we're going to turn it off. I'm not going to see it, so I'm just going to put it back there. We're going to cut the bed at the pillow. You don't need to see the bedboard. You don't need to go super ultra wide. Just from here is about enough. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and see to about here. We may want to show just a little touch of this cabinet because this is what we're selling, these nice bookshelves. We have these chairs which are going to be moved to camera. we've got the fireplace. So we might be doing a fire replacement, which I have videos for, and put that insert of fire in there is a really nice touch, because a lot of times you can't see the fire in there. It will not really show up well. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. And right now it's nice because it's a little chilly day here. And the second light I'm going to do is going to be, I think I'm going to do it right here. So this is going to be out of the camera's eye, I think, because I'm going to cut it right here. So I'm going to put this back here in this corner, right there. Okay. Let me move it out though right over so I can have it go that way and go this way without this wall being interfered with. Okay, so I'm going to now set up my composition, and I think coming back here, and I'm going to be shooting ultra wide as I can on my 16 millimeter, raising up my exposure. I'm raising up my exposure for the ambient, and I'm going to do the composition here. I'm going to do this really quickly because you can't really see what I'm doing here. I'm going to raise the camera up now. This is something because this bed is a little bit in the way, and we really want to be able to see out the window. And that's a good opportunity to do a window pull. So we'll do that. And I got that going on. Looks good. I'm going to set my level up. That looks really good. I'm actually going to lower it just a little bit. Okay, and now I'm going to set my focus point on the fireplace. And that should do that. Okay. Now, next thing I want to do is figure out how am I going to light this thing. So I'm going to do the light over there, and I'm going to do my light, my speed light right here. And now I'm going to turn off my trigger for the ambient shot as always. And I'm going to now take the first exposure, and it's going to be 1/5 of a second, f8 ISO 400. There we go. 2-second timer should go on. Okay, and now I'm going to go one stop darker, so I'm going to go up to 1/10 of a second. And that should cover me on my ambient shots. Now I'm going to turn on my trigger, and I'm going to set up that light over there, the Evolve 200, which is on group C. I'm going to set that to 1/4, and I'm going to go, my speed light is always on group A, because it's right by camera, and I'm going to go full power. And because we've got this view, and it is a very gray day outside, I don't really have to worry too much. There's not much I can capture today. So I'm going to go 1/25 of a second, and there we go. Trigger's on, flash is on, and here we go. Okay, let's see how that looks. Looks really good. Now, one thing you'll notice if you see the flash shot is it's unusable for the ceiling, but that's okay because we can use the ambient shot for the ceiling. Right up here, we've got, you see the ceiling in the shot, and it's got a big flash flare there. So I'm going to do another thing. I'm going to move my flash over here. I'm going to put it over here, bring it down just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to flash it so I get, now I'm going to bring it back here just a little bit. I'm going to try that. And I'm going to do another shot. And if I was using my tethering, one reason to use tethering is I could have triggered it from over there. So I'm just going to use that one. And I'm going to take another flash frame. Okay, and that will light the right hand side of the room. And that should be perfect. So in editing, I'll show you how you can just mask out one flash and mask out the other flash, and you leave the best parts of both, and voila, you have it. So this whole tutorial is to show you how fast and easy it is. Flambient or doing flash fusion or whatever you want to call it is not difficult. It is really simple, really easy. It helps doing it 100 or 2 times, but it's worth spending the time to do this kind of photography because it will give you a better product. You'll get better wall colors. And one little tip, when you're doing a wall color like this, which I can't tell if it's green or brown or yellow, I mean, what color it is, or blue, it might come out blue. make a mental note that, oh yeah, the bedroom in this house was kind of like an olive green, a light olive green. So just always remember, you got to make reference to what you shot. Okay, so listen, shoot smarter, shoot better, and be sure to watch Rich Baum tips and tricks for photography, real estate videos, because we're going to have some really good stuff for you coming up in 2019. Be sure to subscribe to the Rich Baum channel. Be sure to check out Shooting Spaces, a real estate photography podcast. That is a podcast you can listen to every Tuesday. We release a new subject, a new podcast where you can hear the best in the business, interviews, and we have product reviews. We have the people in the business that are in making equipment coming on as interviews. So check it out. It's called shootingspacespodcast.com. We have our blog, shootingspaces.net, and we also have Rich Baum real estate photography workshops, and I'm doing real estate photography one-on-one private coaching, and that is a really effective way to help you get up to speed. So if you have any questions, just send me an email to rich@richbaum.com, and we will talk to you later. Thank you so much for checking in. See you on the next tutorial.